right, so here's the churn box. This is something that I teach my team on team meetings almost weekly for a while, really to help crystallize kind of what's going on inside of our gym. So we want to view our gym as sort of this box, and so in this box we start to build this core, right? So we have different ways that customers come into our business. Some of it's going to be organic, some of it's going to be just like if you open your gym, you got a general an initial influx of members, or you do paid advertising, right? So we do a lot of paid advertising because it's predictable, right? We want everything to be predictable. My past business career was just everything had to be predictable, and so that's one thing I brought into this industry is creating predictability within a business. It just makes it's just common sense. So so you can get into things like referrals and all these other avenues of acquiring customers. So referrals, you could get some, and then other organic strategies, posting things on Facebook, posting things on Instagram, social media type of posts and stuff like that. That can attract some people. Your website, signs, all that stuff, that'll attract some people. But the total amount that will come from these other sources, we're looking anywhere from 4 to 5 per month in a normal general market, right? Some markets might have some sort of a little bit of an advantage in that regard, or some brands might have some brand recognition that drives that. But this day and age, nowadays, it's you're gonna have less of those particular brands that are gonna be able to drive that kind of traffic. That's where we get into paid advertising. And so with paid advertising, we can create predictability, so we can throw a steady flow of, let's say, 40 people in per month into our gym. So we have 40 new people, and really this video is more about building that core, right? So as your core starts to grow, kind of what's happening is in the beginning, when we first start putting a lot of people in here, your core is sticky, right? You want to think of your core as sticky. So the more that you can prep your core to become sticky, so that when we bring in new members, some stick in there as part of the core. They become an additional layer to your core, right? So a lot of when we run paid advertising, when we bring people in, we prep our core so that they are going to help be brand advocates for us and help take care of people. So that makes these people put all these reviews out there that say this is the most inclusive community. This place, everybody here is so amazing. The coaches are amazing. The other members are so amazing. They're incredibly helpful, right? So we prep the core. That doesn't happen by accident. So we teach strategies. And we go over this a lot, but we prep our core to make sure that we are bringing that our core is taking care of the people that we're bringing in. That helps reduce our churn, right? Because what's happening is you have basically two types of churn. You have your basically this is all intro offer, right? So you have your intro offer churn, and then you have your actual member churn. Right? So some of your core, they're leaving too, right? And a lot of times that's what we're measuring. And on a smaller gym, you tend to have a greater percentage of your gym is actually like your core. So when we look at that, we might see anywhere from 3 to 5% as an attrition rate on a small gym that's not really doing any outreach or anything like that. But what happens is if we don't prep this core and it's not sticky, you have people slide over and they leave, right? So the objective here is that we continue with the sticky core, we continue building that core, right? Because as that core builds, guess what? People are coming in, right? They're coming in through our offers, but they're finding somebody that's like them, that they can connect with, that they can relate to. And the more that we can do that, the less people that we're going to have from churn from both member and intro offer churn, right? And so it really comes down to two things. One is to continuously adding people, right? Because in the beginning, you'll add people and you'll lose people, but you have to continuously do it so that eventually that core will grow, right? So if you're adding 40 people a month in the beginning, you know, maybe 8 of them are gonna stick, right? Stick long term, right? Beyond 5 months. This is 5+ months, right? When we're calculating member churn, not saying that that's your core should stay a few years, right? So we want to build the core, the amount of people who are staying years, right? As opposed to just a few months. This is like 0 to 4 months, right? Of the intro, when we calculate intro offer churn, all of that ends up being churn, right? So now we have this churn, we have people going through the system, but guess what? A lot of these, when we run paid ads, when those people leave, they're actually more likely to sign back up for another short-term program, right? Whereas when your members leave, they either left because they wanted to go find they needed something new, or they moved, or something like that. They're not coming back when the core leaves. But when the intro offer people leave, a lot of times they do come back, and especially if you have a good retargeting strategy, your retargeting strategy is if it's done right, will get people back in here and back into your gym very, very, very inexpensive, right? So that's the power of like really understanding and continuing to flow people through. You have to look at your gym as it's not gonna be this like set amount of people that are just gonna be there permanently. It will not happen. You will have people in your core leave, and you'll have intro offer people leave. It will not change. The key is finding out and really understanding what those numbers are every single month, and being able to look at last month's reports and say, okay, well, we lost 11 people, and 3 of them were actual members. So-and-so moved, so-and-so wanted to be more competitive, so they needed to go to a different gym, or they felt like they didn't fit the community anymore, whatever it was, right? And or they're being a pain, whatever, they didn't like how you handled COVID, so good riddance, right? Now up here, the intro offer, they didn't get like clicked in. They might need to go through a few of these things before they actually like really stick. We've seen people come in, you know, probably every 6 months for like 2 or 3 years for a short duration program, right? They continuously come back. Why? They get a good experience. They just couldn't make it click for them. So sometimes it takes a few, like everybody's different. Not everybody just clicks and says, okay, like I need to be healthy and well. So main point is we always want to be putting people in. When we make it predictable, when we know that we can have a set amount that come in every month, we know how to replace them. So once we get this box full, let's say we decided that the box full means 250 people total, right? And we're just measuring the outflow every month, and we're like, okay, so out of 250, we lost 11 total. Of the 11, 3 we're probably not going to see ever again because they moved away or something like that happened. But then there's another 8 that were basically intro offer people, and so we know that we're going to put those in the retargeting system. That's going to happen automatically. We don't have to actually even think about it. So those people are going to get retargeted, and then that's going to take pressure. That's going to put downward pressure. Like we're not going to have as much pressure on our paid advertising because we're using retargeting audiences of people who have already bought from us. So that allows us to take some pressure off our actual advertising dollars, lower advertising costs, and we continue to look at our business as this churn box. And obviously there's other we're not talking here about monetizing client value or anything like that. This is just purely understanding like how we want to view our gym in terms of building this core up until it's nice and stocked up, knowing that it's going to get to a certain point where no matter what, we're going to have flow out. Also, this core, you see, like I define it as a box. If it gets too big, it's going to break, and then the core is going to become unhappy. So got to keep the core happy by not making it too big, right? That's really what it comes down to. Unless you have this massive space and somehow you can create two cores within your your space, or two separate, we're thinking of 3,000 to 4,000 square foot of floor space would define like the amount of members you can fit within your box. Also, you have to consider the size of the overall size of the community that your staff can handle. All of those things. That's why we define really it's 3,500 to 5,000 square feet of actual like space would get us that floor space that we need in order to create the business where it's optimized. There's another video that talks about the gym sweet spot. You can check that out too. But hope this helps you understand and see things in a different way, that your business is really just a churn box. And when you really come to terms with that and understand that, like, you got to do your best you can, your staff will do the best they can to build that core. But your gym is just a churn box. It's just people are coming in and people are leaving. And once you really come to terms with that and figure out how do I make it so that I can get this thing to support that number up there, it will not happen without paid traffic. It will not, unless you have some miracle special brand. And again, that has some other cost to it as well. Organic traffic, people talk about organic traffic. Well, to me, it's time. And that's a whole other video too of diving into spending time for organic traffic when I could just pay dollars, right? It's still going to cost you one way or the other. I value my time at a certain rate, so I'd rather just pay the dollars to paid advertising instead of taking any of my time to post anything. All right. So anyways, that's the churn box. Hope that was helpful.